Malaysia's digital economy is accelerating rapidly with over 1.2 billion payment transactions processed through PayNet in 2024 alone. As a backbone of the nation's payment infrastructure, from Do It Now QR to instant transfers, PayNet plays a central role in how Malaysians transact daily. Yet, as we move into a more AI-driven future, the term sovereign AI is gaining traction. For many, it still sounds abstract or technical. Let's begin by unpacking what sovereign AI really means and why it matters to everyday Malaysians. And for that, I welcome you. Our guest who's ready in the studio with me is Dr. Endry Lim, Chief of Staff PayNet. I want to say thank you, Dr. Endry, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely, this is a very good initiative. We say that PayNet is Malaysia's national payment infrastructure, powering everything from Do It Now QR to instant transfer. Against that backdrop, people often hear AI, but maybe you can share more about sovereign AI. What is sovereign AI?
I think to make it very simple, AI sovereignty is really about ensuring trust and accountability. Now, think of it perhaps in a simpler term. If you have a secret, a personal secret, you want to tell it to your closest family and friends. Why? Because you trust them. I think that's one of the key things of sovereign AI. And sovereign AI does the same thing, essentially, but is talking about our nation's data, information, and infrastructure. I think those are the fundamental of sovereign AI itself. So how do we make sure that the things that we build, the infrastructure that we have, essentially is built by Malaysians for Malaysians under our purview, under our law? I think those are key things about AI sovereignty or sovereign AI.
All right, that's a bit of context of how can we understand sovereign AI. Maybe share with us some examples of how sovereign AI could make life easier for Malaysians, from payments to daily and to digital services.
I think taking continuation on some of the things that we see in the market. Imagine a makcik that is running a nasi lemak store, a micro SME. Now today, with AI, the makcik actually have a business advisor, which is in whatever form there is, which is an AI model that she has in her phone or with her laptop. Now, with this AI model itself that is trained on local context, the AI model then understands clearly about what does the business need for the makcik itself, and then through that and through some of the open data, open banking initiative that we call PayNet Connect, which is what we are building with the Central Bank of Malaysia. Now, this not only consolidates everything, the account balances into one view, but essentially giving the makcik actionable, simple advice into expanding her business. Where should she focus on? Perhaps nasi lemak ayam goreng is the most sellable, best seller for her, and then she should prepare more of those. I think that's where sovereign AI would be able to also help MSME by giving them domestic insights, but with very globally trained data itself.
And data analysis is very important for us to make very strategic, informed decisions from all of these findings. And we can say that FinancialGPT is highlighted as a real-world example of sovereign AI. How will it actually help Malaysians in their day-to-day lives? For example, like saving money, managing budgets, and even putting some for investments.
So perhaps I'll continue on from that perspective itself, right? Now, maybe for the audience, what is sovereign AI? Sovereign AI is our version of sovereign large transaction model that we are building. So because a lot of models out there are large language model, but because you mentioned PayNet has processed transaction data, and that model is trained on transaction data that we have. Now, essentially, we need to make sure that those data and those informations are tailored to domestic context. Building on the MSME that is using AI and with the data that has been built. Now, with this, it would be able to transform all the informal sales data that the makcik has into a bank-ready record. They can actually use some of those information, submit, and now she has access to working capital to expand her business, number one. But that's only half of the story. Now, the second half of the story is with the model being built and trained on our transaction data, we are also able to then keep the makcik safe when she does her transaction. Now, why do we say so? Because one of the initiatives that the nation has embarked on and PayNet has built is the National Fraud Portal. That means every transaction is then being scored and making sure that not only the makcik, but everyone else that does digital payment and transacting digital payment is safe. And all those requires us to build on things which is our transaction data so that we understand Malaysians a little bit better.
And very important that you mentioned it's very safe. But what difference does it make if a model like FinancialGPT is built locally, trained on Malaysian language, culture and financial habit instead of relying on the AI designed for foreign markets?
I think the first key thing here is you really cannot outsource trust or context. I think that's the important thing that we need to understand. So if we look at the models out there today, it's really developed by and very concentrated to a few big techs around the world, the likes of the 5 big companies that is offering. Now, the difference is quite fundamental. A locally trained model just understands our values, our context, and is culturally in tune to the Malaysians, right? I think foreign model would then lack some of those contexts, right? You won't know what the businesses would want, what kind of advice you want to tailor for those businesses. Now, having said that, I think I want to put also a cautionary note there. A lot of the models today are being trained on publicly available data. And all those information are overwhelmingly English. And I think that's the fact. And how do we then make sure that we have a very strong base of Bahasa Malaysia data set based on our national archive, based on our national history, but at the same time, making sure that AI is culturally intelligent, but is also able to then fit into the global innovation space where a lot of the models are in English. Yeah.
And probably my last question, Dr. Endry, looking ahead, how do you see the sovereign AI shaping Malaysia's financial future over the next 5 to probably more than 10 years? And what does success look like, especially for the rakyat?
I think the success itself is not on the technology. I think it's more about the opportunities that it will create for Malaysian. I think a future for a very inclusive growth. I think that's where we are looking at what is the first thing that we want to do in terms of AI. I think number one is how do we then build local talents? And talent is one very important thing to do so. So that's why we have programs such as PayNet, where we want to train and nurture digital talents. Number two is now how do we then ensure that in the next technological wave, Malaysia is not a follower. We are a leader. Pioneer and a regional leader and a global leader, right? So what does the success look like for the rakyat? It's a future where moving forward, our children can find good jobs, high quality jobs right here at home. For the businesses itself, I can grow my business globally at the global stage. I think that's a future that we all want to look forward towards, and it's a future that we should build together as Malaysians.
True, I agree with you. And again, I want to say thank you very much to Dr. Endry Lim, Chief of Staff PayNet. I'm sorry we don't have much time, but definitely I'm looking forward for our future discussion. And again, thank you, Doctor, for helping us understand FinancialGPT and sovereign AI, and how is the power of AI in the financial analysis. Again, I say thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And definitely all of our discussion here will be featured in AWANI.com across all social media platforms. Please stay tuned with us as Negara AWANI will be taking a short break and we'll be right back.